So you won the Heisman Trophy. Moms thinks you finna go dominate in the league. Fortunately for you, moms finna love you even if you turn out to be hot garbage. And thank God mom's love is guaranteed because the game's love isn't. 40 Heisman winners since 1985 and only 4 have won an NFL MVP and only 1 Super Bowl MVP. We've seen too many Heismans end up high-stepping right out of the league without much to show for. Injuries, bad teams, broken front offices, franchises with no plans. Sometimes it wasn't even the player's fault. But at the end of the day, is the most prestigious trophy in college football cursed? Or is there something more sinister going on here? I plotted 40 years of data and what I discovered still don't make a lick of sense. The average NFL career is 3.3 years, and that's everybody. Every undrafted free agent, every 7th round project, and every guy who gets one training camp and never plays again. One might be led to believe that winning the Heisman, being named the single best player in college football, would guarantee you crush that number. But the data says otherwise. Gino Torretta won the Heisman in 1992, lasted 2 seasons. Rashaan Salaam won in 94, 3 seasons and out. Johnny Manziel, the first freshman to ever win the award, only lasted 2 seasons. These guys were supposed to be the best of the best, and some of them are sitting right at or below the average with guys who never won anything in college. But at the top, Vinny Testaverde threw for 46,000 NFL yards. Charles Woodson played 18 seasons and won a Super Bowl. Tim Brown is in the Hall of Fame. But poor Troy Smith started 8 games total. Same trophy, completely different outcomes. So when did the Heisman stop predicting NFL success? In the 1980s, 1 out of 5 Heisman winners busted, just Andre Ware. And here we're going to characterize bust as playing fewer than 5 seasons or never becoming a consistent starter. Not a guy who had a decent career but didn't meet expectations, I mean gone. And in the 90s, close to half were bust. Torretta, Salaam, Warfel, Dane, just to name a few. But the 2000s is where it got ugly. 60%, that's 6 out of 10. The best player in college football was a coin flip to be a bust for an entire decade. Eric Crouch got drafted as a wide receiver and disappeared. Jason White went completely undrafted. Troy Smith was a 5th rounder that barely played. Matt Leinart faded. And Tebow couldn't throw at the NFL level to save his life. Thank God he had Jesus. But then look at that last bar. From 2010 to 2024, 7%. 1 bust out of 15, just Manziel. Now some of you are going to yell at me about RG3 in the comments. And that's fine, but by my definition, he doesn't qualify. Something broke the curse. But before we get to what fixed it, we need to talk about who actually made it to the top. Because that's where the real drought shows up. 10 Heisman winners have made it to the Pro Football Hall of Fame. That sounds like a decent number, until you see where they sit on the timeline. Those gold dots stop at 1998, and then nothing. After Woodson won the Heisman in 1998, not a single Heisman winner has been inducted into the Hall of Fame. Cam Newton won MVP and carried the Panthers to a Super Bowl. RG3 had one of the greatest rookie seasons ever, and while Reggie Bush was electric in college, he never dominated in the league. And before anyone says they haven't been eligible long enough, Cam Newton and RG3 have been, but they ain't getting in. Now the blue dots at the top, these guys have a chance but are still writing their story. But the gap between the last confirmed Hall of Famer and the next one is going to be nearly 30 years. The trophy kept getting handed out every single year, but the legend stopped coming. And the whole time, teams were paying more and more money to find that out. Back in the gap, rookie contracts for Heisman winners were single-digit millions. Bo Jackson, Barry Sanders, Charles Woodson, none of them cracked 10 M&Ms on their rookie deal. And if a Heisman winner busted, it hurt, but it didn't destroy your franchise. However, things would escalate quickly. Reggie Bush got 26 M&Ms for going 2nd overall. Carson Palmer got 30 as the first pick. And then there's Sam Bradford with a whopping $78 million before he had even played a single NFL snap. And for a QB who spent more time on the injury report than on the field, that 1 dot sitting alone at the top of this chart tells you exactly how broken the system was. Teams were handing out franchise-altering money to Heisman winners during the exact decade when 60% of them were busting. The 2011 CBA finally capped rookie contracts, and you can see it immediately. Everything after 2011 clusters between 20 and 40 million. Derrick Henry's rookie deal was 5.4 million and Lamar's 9.5. You can afford to be wrong on a Heisman winner now in the way you couldn't before. The league had to change its financial structure because the Heisman curse became too expensive. But the money fix alone doesn't explain why the bust rate dropped from 60% to 7%. You would think that after a decade of 60% bust rates and $78 million mistakes, teams would say, maybe I shouldn't draft this Heisman winner so high. But that's just not what went down. The right half of this chart will show that the last 10 Heisman winners have all been first-round picks. Almost all of them went top 5, and most recently Mendoza went first overall. But the left side of the chart looks like my face when I was 12. Jason White completely undrafted. Ty Detmer at 230, Torretta at 192, but the right side has every dot pressed up against the bottom of the chart. Teams seem more confident in Heisman winners now than they ever did, and the data suggests they should be. The college game and the NFL used to be two different sports. Option quarterbacks, spread systems, and freaks of nature that dominated in college, but it wouldn't translate to the pros. This is what produced the 2000s curse. NFL teams would eventually adopt college concepts. RPOs, spread formations, and mobile quarterbacks. And what wins you the Heisman now actually works on Sundays. The voters would get smarter too. They stopped rewarding guys who put up numbers in gimmick systems, even when those systems won games, and started rewarding players who were projected as NFL talent. This has allowed that curse, especially at the quarterback position, to be alleviated. Heisman winners last longer, bust less, and eventually earn their contracts. But that Heisman Trophy still lied to moms about one thing. And since she ain't got the heart to tell you, I'm going to let you in on one of the most troubling things I learned from looking at this 40-year data set. Out of 40 Heisman winners since 1985, only 9 have reached the Super Bowl, and only 4 have managed to walk away with a ring. Tim Brown, Eddie George, Cam Newton, and Joe Burrow have all taken their L's. Desmond Howard won it and the Super Bowl MVP. Reggie Bush won with the Saints, Charles Woodson with the Packers, and Devontae Smith with the Eagles. But here's the thing that I can't seem to keep from tickling my Jimmy. The Heisman itself has become a quarterback award. Now, even though running backs have historically dominated the position somewhere between 44 and 47% of the time, depending on how you do the classification, since the 2000s, quarterbacks have won 21 out of 26 of the Heismans, which is so puzzling because the majority of recent winners play the one position that's supposed to lead a franchise to the promised land, but most of them haven't. 4 rings in 40 years from the guys who were named the best player in college football play the position that calls the offense and touches the ball every single play and supposed to be the reason your franchise exists, and the Heisman can barely get them a ring. The trophy can produce NFL starters now and even MVPs. It might even produce some Hall of Famers eventually, but winning it all is still the rarest thing in football. The Heisman isn't necessarily cursed anymore, but a championship? That might be a different kind of curse entirely. And if you want to know what happens before the curse even starts, the draft pick itself might be the problem.